Hello, my name's Kayla. This is Cinnamon, Peaches, and Sage, along with a whole bunch of new plushies. And today I'm going to be going through the best Pokemon in Pokemon Sleep, ending with my own personal tier list. First things first, because I like to use data when making decisions, how exactly do we figure out what are the best Pokemon in Pokemon Sleep? You might think, oh, it's Pokemon Sleep. It's an easy game, not too complicated. You just go to bed and your Pokemon get stronger. But actually, Pokemon Sleep might be the most complicated game in the entire Pokemon franchise. Seriously, there are so many hidden stats and numbers that we're not entirely sure what they do right now. So it's just very confusing what Pokemon are best. Initially, when I was doing this, I looked for websites that could potentially mathematically give me the answer because it's a lot of work to figure it all out on your own. I found this website, which I will also link in the description, and I got the weekly strength of every fully evolved Pokemon at level 1. I then used that to figure out the best ingredient specialists, best berry specialists, and best skills specialists. However, when looking at that, I realized that some things seemed a bit off. For example, certain Snorlaxes on other islands favor certain berries. Also, I wonder how they accounted for Pokemon skills. So keeping those numbers in the back of my mind, I decided to look at other statistics about the Pokemon in Pokemon Sleep to help me create a tier list. The first number I looked at was which Pokemon are fastest at gathering berries and ingredients. To do this, I calculated each Pokemon's carry per minute. Basically, what I did was I looked at the amount of time it takes for a Pokemon to be full and also its carrying capacity. This helps us figure out how many different items, whether it's an ingredient or a berry, the Pokemon could gather per minute. We can see here that Typhlosion is the fastest at gathering at 0.6 berries or ingredients per minute. It's followed by Raichu, so that Pikachu you get early on is a pretty valuable Pokemon. Next up we have Dodrio, but keep in mind that we're looking at the evolved forms of Pokemon in here. Doduo is a lot slower. I'm going to be making a video about which Pokemon to evolve and why in the near future, so if you're interested in things like that, make sure you subscribe so that you see that one as well. Okay, cool, so we know which Pokemon is fastest at gathering, and that's like the most important thing in this game, right? So can't we just use this as our tier list? Nope, because there are a lot of other factors that go into which Pokemon is best. What about most useful skills? When the game first came out, it didn't seem like skills were triggering as often, but now with some updates, skills are triggering quite a bit. So they're pretty useful. Well, some of them anyways. For example, Ampharos, Sudowoodo, Espeon, and Heracross have what is largely considered to be the best ability in the game, which increases Snorlax's strength significantly. Like seriously, I have an Espeon on my team and this skill is amazing. Charge Strength S has two different types. The one that goes from plus 200 to plus 800 can be useful, but it's a little bit swingy. Instant 4x help from one Pokemon is highly underrated. It is a very good ability because it actually picks a Pokemon in your group to do that extra help from. So that means if you're trying to farm specific things, it will be so helpful. And that's why it's called extra helpful. These skills here in the yellow aren't quite as good as the ones in the green, but they're still very good. Especially Ingredient Magnet, I could see an argument for potentially moving that one up because it's just really important to have enough ingredients. Meanwhile, Cooking Power Up I have not found to be as useful because realistically, can you have enough ingredients to use it? Probably not. Dream Shard Magnet could be useful if you're farming Dream Shards. I could see this potentially being useful late game, but early game, it's really not needed. And then any energy skill I just think is not useful because realistically, if you need to recover energy, you could just sleep. For me, that makes a lot more sense to do that than to have a whole skill be used to recover energy. If you're somebody who loves those energy skills, feel free to defend it in the comments. We've got who's fastest at gathering, we've got who's got the best skills. What about ingredients and meals? Cooking meals is one of the best ways to vastly increase your Snorlax's strength. Ingredients have a certain base strength. For example, a fiery herb is going to give more base strength than a fancy apple. However, cooking specific meals rather than just doing a random smoothie or whatever increases your Snorlax's strength significantly significantly more. So it's very important that you have the ingredients you need for the meal, more than it is important that you have ingredients that are high strength. Here we see a chart of ingredients and ingredient strength. This is assuming that each Pokemon gathers one of each of the ingredients that are available to it. If a Pokemon had 2 available ingredients, a 1.5 multiplier was used on the ingredient strength to account for this. As you can see, certain Pokemon have a stronger base ingredient strength than others. However, certain ingredients are used more frequently in meals than others. For example, all the evolutions provide the same ingredients. While these ingredients have an average base strength, they are used a lot in meals, making the evolutions a lot better than they seem if you just looked at the base ingredient strength. Alternatively, Pokemon like Slowbro and Slowking, while they have some of the best ingredients based on ingredient strength, these ingredients aren't used in meals very often, so they're not actually as useful as they might seem. So I'm cooking, I've got my skills going off, I'm gathering ingredients and berries. What about the strength of berries? Like ingredients, berries do have a base strength. While this is somewhat of a factor for berries, the bigger factor is whether or not your Snorlax prefers that type of berry. On Greengrass Island, the berries that Snorlax prefers will vary, but on other islands, Snorlaxes prefer very specific berries. For example, on Cyan Beach, Snorlax prefers Oran, Pecha, and Palm Tree berries. When doing my tier list, I specifically thought about Pokemon that are good right now at the very beginning of the game. It is entirely possible that in the future we'll get additional islands where other berries are good, which could cause this tier list to change. If that happens, I will hopefully do an updated tier list for you all so that you can see how these different Pokemon move around. That being said, accounting for all these different factors, here is my tier list for Pokemon Sleep. The strongest Pokemon in the game, in my opinion, are Typhlosion, Meganium, Arcanine, Gengar, Espeon, Blastoise, Charizard, and Raichu. On my team, I currently have an Espeon, a Charmeleon, a Raichu, a Croconaw, and a Togetic. That's my typical team for Greengrass Island right now anyways, based on the Pokemon that I've encountered. I tend to find that it's better to stick with one solid team that you can level up as much as you can, rather than rotating out all the time to get different berries that Snorlax likes. Hopefully, if your team has a relatively wide set of berries that they're collecting, at least a few of your team members will have matching berries with Snorlax. However, like I said, on other islands, Snorlax prefers specific berries. So what will be my teams for those islands? You can see here my expected teams for Cyan Beach and Top Hollow. Note that I'm keeping Espeon and Raichu in all of my teams so that I can power them up a lot. I actually think that having a couple Pokemon that are very powerful might be useful to bring to all the different islands. That way you're not training up so many different Pokemon, making progression very difficult. However, you do also want to cater to the Snorlax of that island. So for example, on Cyan Beach, I'm also bringing my Croconaw, which will evolve to Feraligatr, as well as my Togetic, which will evolve into Togekiss. I'm really hoping to get a Squirtle soon because I think Blastoise is such a good Pokemon on Cyan Beach. Hopefully by the time this video drops, I already have a Squirtle. For Top Hollow, you'll notice I kept my Espeon and Raichu, but I traded out to have Charizard, Typhlosion, and Arcanine. Note that for Cyan Beach and Top Hollow, I included both a Kanto and Johto starter. I think that this is a very good idea because their abilities balance out really well. Having one Pokemon that's gathering more ingredients with their ability and one Pokemon that is helping you score, it's just a good balance of Pokemon to have a Kantonian starter and a Johtonian starter. What's with the question marks for Snowdrop Tundra? Well, I haven't entirely figured out what Pokemon I want to bring there. Based on all the information in this video, as well as the information that you have from playing the game, what do you think would be my best team for Snowdrop Tundra? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, make sure to like, subscribe, and join our Discord Capsule Monsters, where we talk about Pokemon theories and strategy and all sorts of things. It's a very active, very positive community, and we would love for you to be a part of it. I hope you have a great day or night, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!